Om Yogis, welcome to this practice with Calypso, the goddess of loneliness. Let's start lying on the tummy. Make a pillow with your hands. Let your toes come towards one another, your heels go wide. Like a mermaid's tail, and just rest here. Calypso's name comes from an ancient Greek word, Calypso, meaning she who conceals. So you can come into your own here. Know that it is safe to open up to yourself as you look at yourself and at any feelings you might have around loneliness. Allow your tummy to rise and fall against your mat with the tides of your breath. Loneliness can make us feel like we are all at sea. And even though we might not be able to see her, we might feel Calypso coming close, even though she is concealed right now to us. Beautiful. When you're ready, inhale here. We're going to exhale, come up to Sphinx pose. You can place a rolled up blanket under your ribs to support you if that feels nice. And just rest here as best you can. So Calypso is a goddess taken from Homer's Odyssey, which is an epic poem believed to have been written around the 8th century BC. This poem tells the story of Odysseus, who is trying to get home after the Trojan War. On his way home, Odysseus is lured to Calypso by her beautiful voice and singing and the promise of sensual pleasures. And once she snares him, she will not let him go. Not because Calypso is evil, but because she was lonely. Calypso had been forever banished to her island by Zeus for the crime of supporting her father Oceanus in the Trojan Wars. To me, the punishment doesn't seem to fit the crime. So we see that Calypso is humanized in a way as a victim of her circumstances, as many of us are too. Poor Calypso was isolated and driven half mad through loneliness and longing, suffering at the hands of the gods like a mere mortal. From here, lovelies, let's bring your hands onto a diagonal line with the side edges of your mat and press up to seal, holding the pose here. If this isn't good for your body today, just stay in Sphinx. Connecting to your breath, luring yourself back to yourself. Pulling yourself in. Pulling your external self inward. Moving closer to the hidden places with Calypso, whose very name means to conceal. Let's take one more breath here. And as you exhale, come out of that and bring yourself back into a wide-legged, so knees far apart, child's pose, extending your arms here. So the goddess Calypso lured Odysseus to her island because she was lonely, not because she was evil. And Calypso is a relatable character, as she embodies loneliness, which is such a human condition. We all know the ache of feeling disconnected and lonesome. And Calypso evokes the subject of loneliness, which is often hidden from others. When we are lonely, there is a tendency to put on a social face or mask for others. So loneliness is often overlooked, compounding the problem. Calypso's name, to conceal, reveals something about her loneliness and something about our loneliness and how we hide that part of ourselves away. When you're ready, lovelies, bring yourselves up to a seated position. And let's extend one leg and bend the other with the sole of the foot to the floor. And then we take a twist towards the bent leg, hugging the arm around the leg and holding here. Let yourself fall into the places within you. Become very internal now, feeling the sensations. Falling into sensation as a way to connect with yourself. And you can add on to this pose by extending your back arm, so whichever arm is furthest away from your outstretched leg, extend that back behind you. Fall into sensation as a way to connect to yourself. And then when you're ready, you can hook your elbow to your outer knee, release your extended arm, breathe into your mid-back, releasing any tension here, any tension behind your heart. Opening up to any areas of yourself that may have been concealed from you with the goddess Calypso. Inhale here, then when you're ready, exhale, release the pose. Swap your legs, and then twist towards your bent leg the other way. Gently does it, hugging that leg if that's possible for you. So Calypso has lured Odysseus to her island and has kept him there for a long, long time. 7 long years, in fact. And over the course of those years, Calypso has fallen in love with Odysseus and promises him immortality if he stays with her. Let's extend that back arm now. And even though Calypso offers Odysseus everything she has, immortality, and her entire island and her entire self, Odysseus longs for his home. And he longs for his wife, just as Calypso longs for him. The pair of them were suffering from the same thing in different ways. And this shows us the universal nature of feeling lonely or longing for something, reaching for something, and the pain of that. When you're ready, is lovely. Let's hook the elbow to the outer knee, release your extended arm. Breathe into your mid-back, the area behind your heart, releasing anything that is concealed here today. So neither Calypso or Odysseus were physically alone, and to some extent they weren't even emotionally alone because they were both in the same state of loneliness. They were together, but both of them felt alone in different ways. pair of them were suffering from the same thing in different ways. This shows us the universal nature of feeling lonely or longing for something. It's a very human condition. Inhale here, lovelies, and exhale, release the twist. And then we're going to extend both legs and just take your feet hip width apart and just roll your feet in and out. And as you do so, you roll your hips in and out. Now come to stillness, bringing your feet together, legs are still extended. We're just going to move the buttocks backwards behind you. Your thighs roll in towards one another. And we inhale, the body reaches away from the pelvis. And as we exhale, you can just hold this position. Or if you like, you can begin to fold in. We might want to consider how well concealed loneliness can be. And we might want to consider the idea that even if we feel lonely, it might be true that we are not really alone in that. Inhale here. Exhale slowly, coming out of that. And come to lie down. Knees are bent, feet to the floor. Take your feet a little wider than your hips so your knees can knock together. And rest here. Loneliness burrows into a person, eventually creating a cavernous feeling inside, like a hole inside the heart, or a lurching empty gut, or a sort of empty, aching pulse in the bloodstream. However, it is thought that these kinds of desolate feelings allow the soul to grow. Indeed, over time, Calypso's longing and greediness turned into love, and Odysseus's lustfulness turned into a commitment and longing for his wife and home. When you're ready, lovelies, let's grab a strap, bringing the strap around your heels, bring your legs up, make the strap taut with your hands, and start to breathe up and down the backs of your legs, especially taking your breath into the backs of your knees. Let the sensation in your body draw you into connection with yourself. Beautiful. Then keep the strap nice and taut, but just start to bend and extend your legs together. And as you re-extend your legs, really open up the backs of your knees. Pushing into your heels the whole time. Moving with the waves of your breath. Gorgeous. Now we're going to keep the strap around one of your legs, bringing the other foot to the floor. So still around the heel. We're going to do the same movement just with one leg now. Bend and extend. And then from here, come to stillness and take this into a hamstring stretch, gently pulling the leg towards your face. Close your eyes. Let the sensation up and down the back of your leg draw you into a connection with your breath and with yourself as you breathe here. Gorgeous. Now take that leg skyward again and bring your other leg back into the strap. So both legs are up, the strap is taut and around the heels, and we're just going to extend and bend both legs together again. Now we strap one leg, so the other leg, whichever one you did last time, do the opposite one. Bringing the other foot to the floor, bend and extend here. Pushing into your heel, letting the sensation draw you back to yourself. Gorgeous, and then when you're ready, take that into a hamstring stretch. And breathing up and down the back of your leg. Eventually, the other gods force Calypso to release Odysseus. And again, Calypso is relatable to us as she turns from the villainous captor into the underdog of the gods. We see that her loneliness is not cured through being with her own kind. If anything, their lack of empathy makes her feel even more alone. Being alone is one thing, but being with people who make you feel alone is worse. Poor Calypso endures many levels of the pain of loneliness. Actual physical and social isolation are no strangers to her. But she somehow knows these difficult feelings of envy, longing, and loneliness were important way showers for her life. They show her ultimately where things need to change. And it is the same with us. Difficulty can highlight where change is needed. Let's release your foot from the strap. Come out of that hamstring stretch, bringing both feet to the floor. Your hands come behind your head, and we're going to do slow motion sit-ups here. So as you exhale, slowly push your spine down, engage your core and curl up. And as you inhale, come back to the mat, your elbows go wide, and your low back comes to a comfortable arch. Move slowly. Exhale, engage the core, push the spine down, curl up. And as you come down to the floor, inhale, arch your lower back comfortably, and widen your elbows. Stay with this movement. Stay with the difficulty. Difficulty can often highlight where change is needed. Gorgeous. We're going to keep going with those sit-ups, but this time as you go, bring your opposite knee to your elbow. So taking it into a little twist here. As you exhale and as you come back to the floor, inhale, gently arch your lower back, take your elbows wide. Exhale, push the spine down, engage your core, curl up opposite knee to elbow. Inhale, going wide, coming down, arching your lower back. We're just going to move side to side here. Embrace the difficulty. Ultimately, this can show us where things need to change. Beautiful. And now keep going with that. But next time when you come up knee to elbow, extend that leg, that knee, so the leg is straight up. And then back to the floor. Inhaling, arching the lower back, opening the elbows. Exhale, go the other way, extending the leg as you go. Coming back to the floor, inhale, arch and widen. Move like the sea. Slow and strong. Move with the waves of your breath. On your next inhale, bring both of your feet to the mat. Elbows wide, lower back arches. And as you exhale, press your spine down, engage your core, curl up and bring both of your knees to both of your elbows. So full crunch here. Inhale, widen the elbows, arch the lower back, both feet to the floor. Exhale, all the way up, all of you up. Embrace the difficulty, almost there. And then when you're ready, come down to the mat, take your feet wide, knock your knees in and rest here. So Calypso feels the difficulty. She feels the injustice of her own kind and the loneliness that brings to her. So she breaks away from the gods. And she decides to provide Odysseus with the tools that he needs to build a boat. She leads Odysseus to an island where he can chop down trees and make planks for his boat. Calypso also provides him with wine, bread, clothing, and more materials for his boat. The goddess then sets wind at his back when he sets sail. And after 7 long years, Odysseus has built his boat and he leaves Calypso. So let it all go now as you exhale. You might even want to take a few breaths out of the mouth, in through the nose and out through the mouth. And then when you're ready, hug your knees in towards your chest gently. Roll a little side to side, massage your hips. Then roll to one side, press yourself up to a seated position. We're going to take deer pose. So turn yourself to face the long edge of your mat. And bring your left foot in towards your right thigh. So your right leg is extended at this point. And then lean towards your left hip and just take your right foot back behind you to a kneeling pose. So your legs are at right angles to each other. Now turn gently towards your front thigh, which should be your left thigh, and let yourself twist over it. Extending your right arm as far away from you as you can and using your left hand as a support for the twist. Rest here. You can feel Calypso surrendering to the fact that Odysseus is gone, even though she still longs for company, she longs for connection. She reaches into the distance, into the sea, behind him, for him. Yet still she lets him go. So take a few breaths here, and as you exhale, see if you can let go as deeply as possible. And let your sensation draw you into connection with yourself, into communion and company with yourself. Beautiful. Let's inhale here. And exhale, slowly press yourself out. Slowly and carefully swap your legs over. So your left foot is now coming back behind you in a kneeling position, and your right foot is in front of you, parallel to the long edge of your mat. And then turn towards your right thigh or your front thigh, whichever way you're going, and twist over it, extending your left arm now, reaching your left arm and using your right hand as a support for the twist. Rest and let go here. An interesting aspect of loneliness is its association with a perceived lack of connection, but not necessarily an actual lack of connection. This means that our mindset can actually make us lonely or perpetuate cycles of loneliness. This means loneliness is mostly about our perception. In a way, Calypso broke her cycle and changed her mindset when she decided to help Odysseus. She got over herself or past herself to connect with him, rather than staying in that place of being consumed with her own suffering. So the social pain of loneliness can be a motivation to connect. If we put others first, it can help to reveal ourselves to us. If we see ourselves, warts and all, there is a possibility of connecting to ourselves. And if we make friends with ourselves, then we will never be alone. Okay, lovely. So let's inhale here. Exhale, slowly come out of that. Unravel yourself and meet me in downward facing dog. And from downward facing dog, let's take the left foot forward. Come into a low lunge here, the back knee is down. And you can interlace your hands and press them into your front thigh your left thigh, and breathe and hold here. In a way, Calypso broke her cycle and changed her mindset when she decided to help Odysseus. She got over herself to connect with him rather than being consumed with her own suffering. She lifted her awareness up and up and up. And this gave her the energy to eventually heal herself. Let's come back and meet in downward facing dog. And then we're going to bring the right foot forward and do that low lunge, pressing into the thigh with the hands on the other side. So Calypso's story shows us how her loneliness was about her perception. Her mindset was making her lonely. When she changed her mindset to help Odysseus, she connected with him. So she was not so lonely. She lifted her perception, and this gave her energy. When you're ready, lovelies, let's come back, downward facing dog. And from downward facing dog, let's come to a kneeling position. And just lean back, use your fingers to tuck your toes underneath you, all 10 toes. And then sit back to your heels to stretch out your feet. If this is intense for you, you might want to keep your hands on the floor. If you're okay to do so, you can interlace your hands behind you and open your chest here. So looking at Calypso's story, I think that she learned a lot about herself through her loneliness. 4 things came to my mind. Number 1, her family had no empathy for her and were no good at giving her any feelings of connection. So it was more lonely in a way with her own kind. And this is not necessarily wrong, this is just the way it is sometimes. Number 2, Calypso was capable of love. So loneliness was not her only emotion. Number 3, she was morally aware and connected enough to help free Odysseus. So her awareness was not stuck in her loneliness. And number 4, Calypso had choice and power over her situation. You have the choice and the power to release your feet now, so let's do so. And we'll come into a kneeling side angle pose. So again, turn to face the side edge of your mat. And bring your left foot to point to the short edge of your mat with your knee over your ankle. Your right foot is pointing behind you to the long edge. You can pad under your knee if you need to. Bringing a block now to your inner front foot. Lean upon this and roll your shoulder open to expand your chest here. Now keep your chest open as you reach your arm up. And if the movement of the arm compromises the openness of the chest, don't move the arm, just keep it down. You might even want to take it behind you. If you can keep the chest open with the arm reaching up, you might want to try spinning your palm down towards the bent leg, and then just leaning over into an extended side angle. So Calypso is rooted in herself, even though she might be reaching for connection. And this is kind of the human condition. And of course we root and we ground in ourselves before we reach, before we can reach. It's so important to have that, otherwise we just topple over. Let's do that pose on the other side. Remember to try to keep your heart open here. So if moving the arm up and over compromises the openness of the chest, then just take the arm behind you so you can keep that shoulder rolling open, top shoulder rolling open. We ground ourselves where we are, we root where we are before we reach for another. If we are not grounded and we're just reaching and reaching, it will topple us, it will wobble us. Gorgeous. When you're ready, lovelies, come out of that, shift your block to the side. Come into downward facing dog, stretching out here. And from downward facing dog, let's take the left foot forward into that low lunge again as before. Interlace your hands, press against your front thigh, and if possible you can tuck your back toes, now your feet have had a good stretch, and take this into a high lunge but stay low, so it's a low high lunge, if that makes sense. Hold and breathe here. Use the sensation in your body to connect with yourself. Breathe into the sensation. Then when you're ready, downward facing dog to release. And right leg comes forward to the low lunge, maybe tucking the toes to a low high lunge. Downward facing dog releases you from that pose. And from downward facing dog, let's come to seated. Extending one leg, bringing the other leg to a bent position. The sole of the foot is on the floor. And we're going to twist away from the bent leg, using the elbow against the inner leg to lever open, lever ourselves deeper into the twist. Go slowly. Feel yourself grounded in your legs, grounded in your seat. Even if you're twisting and turning towards something else in your mind and in your heart. Even if there is a longing there. It's really important to be grounded enough to hold that longing. Otherwise, we topple. And this is kind of, I think, where Calypso is by the end of the story. She's learned enough about herself to hold herself where she is, even though I'm sure she still longs for Odysseus. And so inhale here, and exhale, gently come out, swap your legs, twist away from your bent leg, use the elbow against the inner leg to lever yourself deeper into the twist. We go one way and then the other, and Calypso's story seems to have two possible endings depending on where you look. One being very tragic, Calypso killing herself, unable to endure the solitude no more. And the other being more feasible, I think, which suggests that she fell pregnant by Odysseus, and so her isolation ended. Either way, I think Calypso got to know herself through her journey of loneliness. And by the time Odysseus left, she was a very different character to who she was at the beginning of their meeting. So I like to hope that Calypso's loneliness was healed to some degree by her own self-awareness, her own story. Let's inhale here. Exhale, gently come on out of that. Our next pose will be supported bridge. You can use a blanket, your rolled up blanket, or a block. Make sure your support is under your sacrum and not digging into your spine. Rest and come into yourself here. If it's appropriate for your body, you can extend your legs out, pressing into your heels for pontoon pose. If you've got the room, you might even like to try stretching your arms over your head, either straight up or holding your elbows. Go slowly. Listen to yourself. Connect with yourself. And follow the wisdom of your body. Belong to yourself. Come into yourself. Wherever you are, belong to yourself. Loneliness brings a feeling of unbelonging, of having no place and being of no use, because we are human and humans are social creatures. If loneliness goes on too long, we can become very low because we lack the perceived connections that elevate us. When we connect to ourselves, even when we feel down, especially when we feel down, we access the energy of our own awareness that can guide us out of loneliness and into something else, into just aloneness. Let's guide ourselves out of pontoon pose if you're there, and just come back to supported bridge. When we connect to ourselves, even when we feel down, especially when we feel down, we access the energy of our awareness that can guide us out of loneliness and into aloneness. Aloneness is different to loneliness. Loneliness is the lack of another. Aloneness is the fullness of the self. And there is energy there. There is healing in aloneness, peace, and even bliss. And I like to think that Calypso found this eventually in the end. Let's inhale here, pressing your hips off of your block, moving your block out of the way, and as you exhale, slowly unravel your back to the floor. And then slowly and carefully, gently hug your knees in towards your chest. And allow your legs to fall to the left for a supine twist. So inhale here, lovelies. Exhale, come back to center. Take a moment in the center line of your body. And when you're ready, drop your knees to the right. I think Calypso learned a lot about herself and about others through her journey of loneliness. And if she can, we can. Because in truth, we are not alone. We are all part of many other stories, all interweaving and connecting with one another. Whether we realize it or not. And loneliness is a terrible, debilitating condition. A terrible state of mind. And as Calypso helps us to navigate loneliness, I pray that we can help one another. Let's inhale here, lovelies, and exhale, bring yourself back to center. We're going to use your strap one more time, looping your strap around your heels. Take your feet up and hip width apart. If it's comfortable for your body, you can take your feet mat width apart, pressing into your heels, allowing your sacrum to widen here. You can ask yourself the question, who might you help? Who might you know who's suffering from loneliness? Who might you help? This question includes yourself if need be. Okay, lovelies, let's release the legs and come into Shavasana, making sure that you'll be warm enough for the next 10 minutes or so. sense, see, feel or imagine Calypso, the nymph goddess of the sea, coming close. She moves like the ocean, coming in like a gentle tide, a divine maiden with beautiful pastel green and blue hair, darkest coffee skin and eyes of aquamarine. Her body is decorated with shells and pink sands, and she comes and then she goes, appearing, then falling back into the hidden places within your mind and your heart. Let's take a few deep, purposeful and helpful breaths, helping Calypso hold her watery form. Calypso speaks. Loneliness is simply a feeling that has become a habit. We breathe that habit away a little today, let it go. With deep, purposeful, helpful exhalations, let go. We shake that habit of loneliness away a little today by acknowledging the person who needs you the most. Do not see me standing before you, but instead see them, the person who needs you so much right now. See them standing in front of you. See the sincerity of their need for you as they reach out for you. Feel the love and the beauty within that need. Now allow the image of them to fall back away from your awareness as you breathe out. Let them go. And slowly come back to a purposeful inhale, breathing yourself in. Feeling inside yourself into the caves and caverns beneath the surface of your skin, into the deep waters, the deep places. Join yourself with any feelings of loneliness. Join as if you are meeting up with the person who needs you the most. Join with the ache of longing, the heaviness of heart. Join with the rejections or the isolation within yourself. Join because loneliness has called you and loneliness needed you. Feel the call and the need of loneliness in a human way, as if loneliness were another person. You alleviate feelings of desolation by being there with them and never pushing those feelings away. Would you tell your troubled friend to go away when they call you, upset and asking for your presence? No. Would you turn away the person who needs you the most when they reach out to you? No. Then you do not tell your loneliness to go away either. Connect, feel it, and heal it. I take you now with your feelings to my island to give you time to be with your feelings alone together. You now sit upon the stones at the head of my island, just you and your feelings. You are always invited to come back to my island during the times your feelings need you to be with them. Trust you will understand the feelings as I have done in time. Calypso is with you. Calypso is helping you understand and be with the feelings. Connect with the Calypso. Although I am sometimes concealed, you are not alone. Slowly, lovely, start to deepen your breath. Connect with the tides of your breath. Pulling yourself back to yourself, back into your body. And start to take whatever stretch your body needs. And slowly hugging your knees in towards your chest, roll a little side to side. Slowly and gently rolling to one side. And bringing back anything, if anything, was relevant for you today as you come to a comfortable seat. Bringing your hands to your heart center with gratitude to the story of Calypso, her epic journey through loneliness. With gratitude to one another, for being here for one another as we practice. With gratitude to yourself. And with so much love. Namaste.